Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee, and today I wanted to discuss is wargaming an addiction? So does your hobby interfere with your normal life? Do you skip meals or forget to pay bills or attend appointments because of your hobby? Are you paranoid, aggressive, short-tempered? Do you lack self-control or exhibit poor judgement? These are all symptoms of addiction, but I don't think they are the same as the symptoms of commitment and dedication, which is what I typically see in my hobby. Now, this whole conversation has been generated because I had a conversation with a family member who described my level of commitment to my hobby as an addiction, and I took a bit of exception to that, and I thought I'd explore the subject a little bit further in today's video. Certainly any hobby or interest can be taken too far, and many would describe our hobby as certainly as obsessive and sometimes can be all-inclusive, but I wouldn't quite go so far as to call it addictive. So I've listed a few symptoms of not only addictive substance, people who are addicted to substances, but people who have got addictive behaviours in general, and they tend to generate the same sort of list of symptoms, and I thought I'd look at them one at a time and just see how it stacks up against certainly my experience of the hobby, and I've played with different groups, different types of games, big groups, small groups, old friends, new friends, shows sometimes, so I think I've got a fairly wide experience, so I thought I'd have a look at all of these addictive behaviours and see how they stack up against my experience of the hobby to see whether I think it's addictive or not. So a typical addictive behaviour would be someone who has quite extreme mood swings. That's one of the symptoms of people that are addicted. And aside from the typical hopelessness and immediate ecstasy that comes from standing around the games table when things go wrong or suddenly go right, and of course the dice will always do their worst until of course they don't. Aside from all of that, I think most of the gamers that I have played with and have experience of seem to take the whole thing in their stride. They certainly don't have extremes of mood swings. There's always one, but the vast majority don't appear to do that, so I wouldn't say that that is a typical feature of wargamers. Now, addiction can create extreme tiredness in some people, but my argument response to that would be, hell, who isn't at this age? Your typical gamer demographic seems to either be teenagers who have the ability to sleep for 18 hours a day, or 40 to 50 pluses, and we have been worn out by life. So it's not entirely surprising that we're tired. I don't think that's necessarily a symptom of the hobby. Now, addiction can also create an inability to focus or to concentrate in people. But I would say our hobby positively encourages the complete opposite to that. In effect, our hobby is like brain training. We're learning new skills, new knowledge, and new ways of doing things. The thing with our hobby is it's all about memory, learning, recall. We couldn't play without it. So I certainly don't think that our hobby is conducive with having a lack of focus or concentration or memory problems. Now, of course, addiction can create poor judgment, and now this one I might concede a little bit. On the battlefield, I've been known to exhibit some poor judgment. We've probably all been there at one point or another, and certainly when I'm faced with shiny things at a show, yes, there's plenty of examples in my history where I can say that was poorly judged. Why did they do that? But again, I think that's more to do with our passion for the hobby rather than an addiction to the hobby. Now, addiction can create a reduced self-esteem and a lack of concern over an individual's physical appearance and their hygiene. We all got examples of when we go to shows. There's always that one gamer that has some extreme gamer funk going on, and you want to step back a few steps when you're around them. But the vast majority are fairly clean and well kept. So again, not a result of the hobby, I don't think. Now, one of the other main things with people that have addictions is that they tend to absolve themselves of responsibilities. They reduce their socialising, their interactions with other people. They become very insular. But of course, our hobby is all about face-to-face gaming, whether that's at clubs or at shows, or over the last year and a half, we've transmitted that to going via blogs and vlogs and using things like Zoom and so on. So even when we ain't been able to be in the same room, we still kept that social atmosphere together. Forums and all the other things that we use to keep in touch and to share information. You can't. I don't think you can have this hobby and reduce your socialising. It's almost an anathema to the nature of the hobby and the way that we enjoy it. Now, the final side effect I'm going to look at: disrupted sleep patterns, including insomnia. Now, I never lose sleep over my hobby, no matter how busy I make myself, and I've always got too much on my games table or on my desk. But no matter how much I'm doing, I never lose sleep over it. In fact, I would say the complete contrary. The hobby, and I'm sure everyone would agree with this, most of you will probably agree with this, that our hobby helps us to de-stress. So it pushes aside, keeps those things that would be keeping you awake at night, like work and commitments and so on. It pushes them aside and lets you relax. So quite the contrary. I've never lost sleep over my hobby, that's for sure. Now, of course, addiction isn't a joke, and I'm not trying to make light of it in any way. Real addiction has very real life effects, and certainly, I've experienced this in my own work, that it can exacerbate mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, stress. And in this respect, above all others, I would say our hobby is actually a firewall against those things. It gives us focus, it gives us structure, social connections, a sense of achievement. It enhances our mental facilities and improves our judgement, hones our concentration. For all these reasons and more besides, I wouldn't be signing up to Wargamers Anonymous anytime soon. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Have you got any examples of addictive behaviour, or even examples of why the hobby isn't addictive, and your experiences of other gamers? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, or of course over on my blog, Bigly's Miniature Adventures. And if you did enjoy the video, please, as always, I'd say, please like, subscribe and share. So until next week, keep looking after yourself, getting as many games as you can, and of course, keep rolling high.